Today we will be studying the part 3 of anatomy and physiology of spinal cord. There we will see the ascending tracts only, that we will continue the anterior and lateral spinothalamic tract, and we will see the further tracts also. These are included under the ascending tracts only. Okay, so before going there, I posted you yesterday one question, but let's solve that. I didn't see any comments in the comment section. Please do study. If you study, just do give me the correct answer in the comment box so that I can assume that you are studying well, and I can make the more videos. It motivates me. Thank you. So our question was, where in the dorsal medial lemniscal system crossing occurs? Fine. So we have studied the dorsal medial lemniscal system, right? The dorsal medial lemniscal system we have studied, right? And if we see, we have seen yesterday, just a second, let me take a pen to draw. Right. So we have seen that the dorsal column lemniscal system, in which we have which tract? Tract of cuneatus and gracilis, right? We have seen that here the tracts are coming. Medially it is gracilis and laterally it is cuneatus. So this is fasciculus cuneatus and fasciculus gracilis. Likewise we have from the other side also gracilis and cuneatus, and they are coming at the medullary level. Pyramids, olives, again pyramids and olives. Fine. It is coming to the here at the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis, where it forms the where the first order neuron synapses and starts the second order neuron. Here it crosses at the medullary level and form the IAF, that is internal arcuate fibers, right? So our answer is, it crossing occurs at the medulla. Okay, this is the right option. It is very simple. So now we will study today the anterolateral system, right? Anterolateral column. Yesterday we have seen the dorsal column lemniscal system, means the tracts which comes under the dorsal column. That are, we have two tracts, that is tract of gracilis and the cuneatus. Fine. And today we will see the anterolateral column, means the tracts which are situated in the anterior column and lateral column. Fine. So let's talk about the pain and temperature first. Like I told you, in the dorsal column sensations, what are the sensations which are carried by your dorsal column medial lemniscal system? These are very good. Yes, this is a revision and it is worth repeating because the sensations are carried by your these tracts, and it is very important to know. If you know this, then only you can make the diagnosis of the patient correctly. Fine. Yeah, I was talking that what are the sensations which are carried by your dorsal column system? That are, yes, graphesthesia, stereognosis, dew point discrimination, your fine touch, vibration. Fine. These are your kinesthetic sensation and proprioception. These are your sensations which are carried by your dorsal column dorsal column. Fine, dorsal column middle lemniscal system. Now today we will talk about the sensation of the pain and temperature, right? Sensation of pain and temperature. So if we will see that pain and temperature is carried by your lateral spinothalamic tract. Like I told you earlier also, there is no need to learn it. You only have to understand it. If you understand it, it is very easy to memorize. Fine. So we will see why it is named as the lateral spinothalamic tract, and now we know that lateral spinothalamic tract is carrying the sensation of the pain and temperature. Fine. So if I draw the diagram here, let's see what is the course of the tract which is carrying your pain and temperature sensation. Fine. This is your spinal cord. Just a second. Let's take this pen only. Yeah. Fine. This is your spinal cord. So if we see this pain and temperature, fine. This is the sensation. This is what? This is the sensation which is carried by your lateral spinothalamic tract. Now we will see how it is. I have told you earlier also. This is your dorsal area. Okay, fine. Yeah. So from here the receptor comes. And what is the receptor for pain and temperature? Yes, anybody? Free nerve endings. Okay. Free nerve ending is for pain and temperature. This is a receptor. So it is carrying the sensation of pain and temperature. If I see, told you that, let's first take it simple. So pain and temperature is carried from the receptor free nerve ending, and it is carried by your sensory nerve. Good. Sensory nerve to the dorsal root ganglion. So here is the difference. If we see in the dorsal column lemniscal system, we have the first order neuron which is not terminate here. Fine. But if we see in the anterolateral column, or we can say lateral spinothalamic tract, if we are talking about, your first order neuron comes in the dorsal root ganglion and its synapses here. So your first order neuron would be here. Fine. Understand? Say clear? Good. Now if we proceed to the next thing, so this pain and temperature sensation is carried by your, very good, sensory nerve, and what it does, it crosses from here, then moves upwards, then ascends upwards. If we see in the dorsal column, what we can see, that the sensation comes from here, right? It doesn't form the first order neuron here, but here. Fine. In the dorsal gray horn, and then it ascends from here only without crossing. Fasciculus cuneatus, you remember? And the first order synapses in the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus fasciculus, if you remember. This is a fasciculus cuneatus, and if we see the likewise, the medially one is fasciculus gracilis, right? But if we see, just a second, otherwise you will get confused. So If we will see in the lateral spinothalamic tract, these are carried by your receptor free nerve endings. Then in the dorsal root ganglion, it forms a first order neuron. Then from here to here, in the dorsal gray horn, good. In the dorsal gray horn, we have the nucleus, which is called the substantia gelatinosa of Rolando. Okay, this is nothing but the nucleus. Okay, collection of the cell body in the gray matter. Fine. So it is a nucleus substantia gelatinosa of Rolando. So it comes here. Fine, and it forms a second order neuron here. Can you find the difference in the dorsal column tract and the anterior lateral in the lateral spinothalamic tract? Right? So first order neuron forms in the dorsal root ganglion. This is your dorsal root ganglion. So if it moves or it is going to the dorsal gray horn, here it synapses with the substantia gelatinosa nucleus and forms a second order neuron. And what it does, it crosses on the opposite side to the anterior column. This you remember, this is the anterior column, or you can say interior white funiculus when we did the structure of the spinal cord, right? So if it crosses from the anterior, it is? Very good. It is anterior commissure, and it crosses to the anterior white funiculus, and then it ascends upwards like this. Fine. So it is taking the information from the every level, you can say from your foot, from your trunk, and from your upper arm, from your cervical region. The sensation of the pain and temperature is carried by your lateral spinothalamic tract. These are the pathways which are taking the sensation, different kind of sensations from your body to your brain, so that brain can sensitize it and process it, and after that it can proceed the action. Means what you have to do with that. Yeah, the brain creates a response, and through the effector like muscle or gland, you respond to it. Fine. So these are very interesting and important to know the pathways. It is a basic. So if we can see here, this is clear up to here. I'll tell you one more thing, that after originating or after taking the sensation from the free nerve ending receptors, we have the Clark's nucleus here. Fine. Clark's nucleus take the sensation of pain and temperature. From here it goes to dorsal root ganglion. I am adding this point, and then it moves towards. Did not told you earlier, otherwise you got confused. So I am telling now. So from free nerve ending, it goes to the Clark's nucleus, and from the Clark's nucleus, we have the. It is proceeding like this. Fine. So if we see in the dorsal column lemniscal system, you have seen that the sensations are if adding laterally if we move towards upwards, but here it is opposite. Like see, wait a minute. I'll draw one section of spinal cord. Okay. For example, this is at the lumbar level, and this is your cervical level. Are you getting my point now? We are adding the fibers, right? Here also we have the same thing. We have the Clark's nucleus from the free nerve endings taking the receptor to the dorsal root ganglion, then to the dorsal gray horn at the substantia gelatinosa. It forms a second order neuron, and from here it crosses and adding like this. These fibers are adding. Fine. So these are the same fibers, means the lateral spinothalamic tract, the neurons are getting added. You can see the question is this, I asked you that in the dorsal column, if you see the fibers which are adding on the upper side, means from the upper limb or the your upper torso, and these fibers are adding laterally, fibers of cuneatus, if you remember. But here if we see your fibers of the at the cervical region or from the upper torso, it is adding medially, if you see. And while which the fibers which are lumbar at the lumbar level or at the sacral level or from the lower limb or from the lower torso, it is coming laterally. It is very important to know because when the injury occurs, you have to grade the symptoms accordingly. Fine. So up to here it is clear. Let's proceed to the next thing. Now we have drawn the structure like this. I'll make off one side, and it is very obvious the second side would be the same. Means from if I draw the structure on the left side or I am drawing the tract on the left side, the same is happening in the right side also. Fine. So likewise we have drawn the structure. This is for example at the cervical level and this is at the lumbar level. Means from the lower torso and the lower limb, and this is from the upper torso and the upper limb. Fine. And they are carrying the sensation of pain and temperature. This is your lateral spinothalamic tract. Oh, I just made one mistake. I'm very sorry about it. See, likewise, I told you that it is carried, the pain and temperature is carried by your lateral spinothalamic tract. It is the same thing. It is crossing like this and coming here only. But I just made one mistake. I just told you that it is on the interior side, but it is a lateral side if you see. It is a lateral funiculus, right? So it is the pain and temperature sensation after crossing this side, it comes to your lateral column. So after it coming to the lateral column, then it ascends. Fine, not the interior column. I'm sorry for that. See, now if you can see this, Clark's nucleus here and receptor are your free nerve ending. The same goes here. Find Clark's nucleus and then your dorsal root ganglion. First order neuron here for both the sides. Both the sides means your left and right. Fine, I am drawing it on the one side only. So it goes like this and then it ascends upwards. Fine. If we see, I have drawn like this only earlier also. It is heading medially. Fine. So your second order neuron forms at what level? At the dorsal gray horn. Means this is the nucleus which synapse here is your substantia gelatinosa of Rolando, right? Same here. Fine. Now if we see, if it ascends upwards, fine, what is the destination of it? We have seen it is lateral spinothalamic tract. So first is lateral, so it comes into the lateral side and it is running from the spinal cord. So lateral spino and termination is your thalamus. Fine. So the same is, we have the medulla, then pons. Fine. Here a pyramid olives will cross this, and we have the midbrain here. Cerebral aqueduct. Wait, I'll draw a little down because I have to draw the thalamus also. So just let make it small. Yeah, it the sensations are coming from here, then to here. For example, right. This is your medullary level. It crosses it. Then your pons crosses it also. Then comes your midbrain. Good, fine. And this is your cerebral aqueduct, for example. The same comes like this if I draw here, right? From the other side. Right? So this is your cerebral aqueduct. Let's take another pen. Otherwise this diagram will be very confused. Fine. So this is your midbrain level. And here is our cerebral aqueduct. Here we have thalamus. Remember the egg-shaped structure on the both sides. For example, I am talking just only of your left side, right? So it is coming here, crossing this, and terminate in the VPL nucleus. Again, ventroposterolateral nucleus. Fine. So it terminates at the thalamus, and here it will form your. Just a second. Right? Here it will form your third order neuron. Your first order neuron terminates in the dorsal root ganglion, second order at the substantia gelatinosa, and third order at the thalamus in the VPL nucleus, ventral posterolateral nucleus. Fine. So likewise, same happens on this side also. Fine. So after reaching the thalamus, what is the destination of it? Like if you see, we have the. I'll draw here. This is the thalamus, and this is your internal capsule. Fine. If I draw the thalamus, it looks like this. We have many nucleus in the thalamus, but right now I'm talking about the VPL nucleus only. So if I tell you the destination of it, what it has, it will terminate and forms the third order neuron in the VPL nucleus. Fine. Up to here it is clear. Then we can see that in the VPL nucleus, it got the synapses and send its neurons to the internal capsule. Fine. And to the intralaminar nuclei. What is intralaminar nuclei? It is a nuclei of the thalamus only. See, the part which is looking like this of the thalamus, this is your intralaminar. Fine. Intralaminar nuclei, it sends its neurons or its endings to the intralaminar nuclei and to the internal capsule. And one more thing, for example, this is your brainstem, right? Midbrain, pons, and medulla. It consists of the your brainstem consists of the midbrain, pons, and medulla. So here we have the what mixture of your gray and white matter, which is called your reticular formation. Reticular formation is very important, very, very important because it plays the role in your consciousness. Fine. The function of the reticular formation is the consciousness. For example, this is the nuclei of the gray and white matter, and it's sending its fibers to the reticular formation also. That is why you feel the pain, means very consciously. So the concern of the conscious pain is with your reticular formation. It's sending its impulses or its endings to the interlaminar nuclei, then to the internal capsule. Finally, it got terminates where after the thalamus. What is there? This is your midbrain. Then I am drawing into the next slide. Just a second. Let me take a new slide. Right here, for example, your thalamus is here, and you know your tract are coming. This is your medulla, pons, your midbrain, medulla, pons, your midbrain. Fine. So here comes your cortex. So from the VPL nucleus and from the reticular formation and from the intralaminar nuclei, it sends from the internal capsule. It takes your sensations and send it via the corona radiata to the sensory cortex. So what is corona radiata? It is nothing but the white matter only, and it is a fan shaped like structure which is radiating the fibers which are getting originated from the internal capsule and fan out to send its impulses to the sensory cortex is called your corona radiata. Fine. So this sends its impulses or sensation further to the sensory cortex. Fine. Your third order neuron forms at the VPL nucleus, and from here it sends its impulses to the sensory cortex. There it senses the pain and temperature because the lateral spinothalamic tract is for pain and temperature. Fine. It processes the sensation and then it sends to the via another tract, means through the another descending tracts. Its response is sent to the effector. Fine. So this is your lateral spinothalamic tract. Any problem? You don't have to remember its name. It's nothing but see. It starts from the lateral column. So lateral at the spinal level, spino. So third order neuron forms at the thalamus. So lateral spinothalamic tract. Clear? So it is taking the sensation of your pain and temperature, and it is situated in the lateral column. Termination it in the VPL nucleus of the thalamus, while ascending upwards after taking the origin from the dorsal root ganglion to the dorsal gray horn, then it crosses to the lateral column, then it ascends upwards, crosses the medulla, pons, midbrain, and then reaches to the thalamus. In the thalamus, it reaches the VPL nucleus. After terminating there, it sends its radiations or impulses to the internal capsule, your this one, on both sides. Internal capsule, your intralaminar nuclei, this one, and your brain stems nuclei, which is called your reticular formation. Fine. And then further it sends its impulses to the sensory cortex, here if you see. Fine. And from here it sends their pain and temperature. Now if I talk about if the lesion occurs in your lateral spinothalamic tract, for example, if the lesion occurs here. Fine. So what are the symptoms to the patient? Anybody? It's very simple. See, symptoms of the patient if the lesion occurs here. What would be the symptoms? Loss of Very simple. What is the function of the lateral spinothalamic tract? Pain and temperature. So, if the lesion occurs, so there will be the loss of pain and temperature below the level of lesion. Fine. And on the contralateral side. Contralateral means opposite side. We have in the dorsal column, the crossing occurs at the medullary level. But here crossing occurs at the spinal level only. Fine. So here if the lesion occurs here, so the tract is coming from the opposite side, right? See, it is coming from the opposite side. So patient will present with the symptoms of contralateral loss of pain and temperature. Is there any problem up to here or is it clear? It's clear? Okay, I have to add one point here. Let's take a new slide. Your lateral spinothalamic tract is complete, but I just have to add one point only. See, we are studying this, right? See, I draw the structure at the two levels. We have the more spinal levels. See, for example, told you that the sensations are coming, right? But I have to add one point. The spinothalamic tract is the same. It is carrying the pain and temperature sensation. I just have to tell you the difference of the fast pain and slow pain. So, if I have to see, or if I have to ask you that uh, pinprick, pinpricks pain, is it a fast pain or a slow pain? So, it's a fast pain. Very good. Fine. And if I have to ask you that dull, ache, throbbing, pain is your slow pain, means you cannot quantify that your slow pain is you are feeling it where at the exact point where. If I talk about the fast pain, you have the precision of it, means you can say that it is actually where, what is the point, what is exact the position where you are getting the fast pain. Fine. So we have the one concept here, your fast pain is carried by your A delta fibers. Otherwise, all is the same, but you just have to remember it. And your slow pain is carried by your C fibers. Nothing more. A delta fiber is more myelinated. It's not that much myelinated, but comparative to the C fibers, it is more myelinated. Fine. And C fibers are non-myelinated. Myelinated. Myelinated means it is the myelin sheath which we are talking about, right? So if I have to say you that your fast pain is your pinprick pain, and your slow pain is your dull ache throbbing pain, and for example if I have to give you, this is your visceral pain. Fine. Visceral pain means pain which you are getting from the deep or inside or your organs, right? And it is fast pain is carried by your A delta fibers, and your slow pain is carried by your C fibers. So A delta fibers are more myelinated than C fibers, right? And your C fibers are unmyelinated, right? And another point, the precision is of the fast pain. If I talk about, I told you that fast pain, you can say that you know the exact point where is it. For example, I somebody is pricking on my hand and telling me like this, so I can exactly tell that this is the point where I'm getting the pain. Fine. So precision of the pain is very accurate in the fast pain. So if I say you that precision is very accurate, right? And if I talk about the slow pain, the precision of the pain is not accurate. Means if you are having the stomach ache, right? You can't say that your stomach is aching from this side or that side, or you have the this point on the stomach which is you are getting the trouble, right? But it is a dull or diffuse pain, right? Means you can't say that it is the one point where you are getting the pain. So that is your slow pain, fine. And your slow pain is, if I say, precision is not accurate, right? Means you can't say that you have one point which you are getting trouble. So these are the points of the fast pain and slow pain. Otherwise, your tract follows the same procedure, right? And one more point I want to add here. If the fast pain is carrying by your A delta fibers, so these are more myelinated. So the fast pain will reach to the brain in very few seconds. You can say 0.1 second, and it takes some time to reach the brain. Okay, means it is not reaching as fast as your fast pain. So these are the differences, and I can show you one the picture of the lateral spinothalamic tract. If you can see here, see, I told you that from the Clark's nucleus, here it is not written. For example, you can see the Clark's nucleus here, right? So from here or from the receptors, it is taking originated and in the posterior root ganglion, which I say you dorsal root ganglion. Posterior or dorsal is the same thing. In the posterior root ganglion, it forms a first order neuron, right? And from here, it will synapse in the dorsal gray horn at the level of your substantia gelatinosa. Here it forms a second order neuron. Fine. Then it gets crossed from the anterior white commissure, then it comes to the lateral side to the lateral column, and then it ascends upwards to the crossing your medulla, your pons, your midbrain reaches your thalamus, and in the thalamus it terminates at the VPL nucleus. Fine. So after there it sends its collaterals to your what? To your reticular formation which is present all over the brainstem, to your intralaminar nuclei, fine, then to the internal capsule, then via posterior limb of internal capsule it terminates at the sensory cortex. Is it clear? So here at the thalamus it forms your third order neuron. Is it clear? Okay, this is your lateral spinothalamic tract. It is very easy. No need to learn it, just understand it. You will learn it itself. So it's clear? Fine. So now we will proceed to the next tract, and before that I'll post you one question for today. Fine. Just a second, give me a second so that I can draw a question for you. Right. See, now let me take a pen. Now we have studied about the lateral spinothalamic tract and the dorsal column lemniscal system. Is there any problem? Okay. If I ask you, tell me the sensations which are carried by your dorsal columns lemniscal system. These are your very good. These are proprioception, your graphesthesia, stereognosis, kinesthetic, and fine touch. Fine. And same if I talk about the lateral spinothalamic tract, it is taking the sensation of pain and temperature. Clear? So I'll post you one question. Please answer it in the comment box. Let's take the question. At which level the crossing occurs at the lateral spinothalamic tract? So our answers are A, B, and C. At the medullary level, at the brainstem level, or at the spinal level. Do let me know your answers in the comment box. Please follow me and subscribe more, and tell me what you need so that I can add it and make more videos for you. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. So we will meet tomorrow and see the next video, fine, and the next tract we will study. Thank you so much.